What?
Way too long.
Shut up.
Yeah, that was one of my problems as I'm watching this. We're like at minute,
we're
like,
not friends anymore.
We're at like minute 10 of this fight. I'm like, okay, get on with it, guys.
What?
It's ridiculous.
It's incredible.
It's way too long.
We're watching 3 years of mentorship, friendship, and brotherhood all come together in one final epic battle. And you're like, I want it over in 30 seconds. Just like
I don't want it over
life.
in 30 seconds, but I also don't want it to be 15 minutes long. They just duel for way too long with nothing. There's like, it's just a straight up duel. If you're going to make it that long, at least make something more interesting out of it.
And now time for The Viewing Room with Adam and Ethan.
Welcome to the viewing room where we talk about films new and old, local and global. Today we're talking about Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which released on May 12th, 2005. May 19th, 2005, actually.
Should have been better if it released on May 4th.
Yes, true. It has been playing in theaters this kind of week because it is the 20th anniversary and in a couple of weeks or whatever, and so this is the release window they chose. And bing, bada, boom. We're here. It was pretty busy. We went to Scotiabank, saw it, and it was a lot of fun. There were some people quoting some lines. It wasn't as hype as the Minecraft movie, but yeah, there we are.
Well, hello there.
Yeah, well,
I guarantee you people were quoting that one.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one. I think this is probably the best prequel movie. Sorry, this is the best prequel movie. This is the best prequel Star Wars movie. It's way better than The Phantom Menace. It's way better than Attack of the Clones. It's good. It's good. I enjoy this one. I'm not a huge prequel fan, but I like this one. It's the least weird. It's like super emotional.
I'll be honest, I have not watched the prequels in so long. It's probably been 10 years, so I can't really compare them very well. All I know is that the original trilogy is up here,
yeah.
and every other Star Wars movie except for Rogue One is down here. There's like the original trilogy, Rogue One.
I disagree.
Everything else.
I disagree. I think all of Star Wars is here already, like in the real good. And then like, the Phantom Menace is maybe here. Solo's about there too. Yeah. And then like, Attack of the Clones is a little bit like here. Revenge of the Sith is up here. Ding, 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 ding. Then Rise of Skywalker is like here. But The Force Awakens is up here. And then The Last Jedi is like here. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Especially since 2012, it's all gone.
I think there's been some gems. There's been some gems and there's been some flops. I really like The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi, there's some really good cinematography. Overall, as a movie, not a huge fan of. Rise of Skywalker is like okay too. Like, I don't think the sequels were as bad. I think Luke Skywalker sucked in all of them. I was like, oh, poor Mark Hamill. Like they did his character dirty.
But Rey Skywalker is a whiny bitch.
Whoa. Okay.
So, you know.
Maybe we'll censor that one.
No. The world gets to know how I feel.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
The other thing I realized watching this movie all the way through, for the first time in 10 years, is how many memes came out of this movie. Like how many like, you know, memes or iconic scenes are there in this movie? Like there's a lot, I feel like.
There's a lot. Yeah. Hello there. And
Execute Order 66 is another one.
I have the high ground. Yeah.
The high ground.
Big ones.
You were like a brother, Anakin, or whatever it is.
Yeah. No, there's some good stuff. It had a budget of 113 million USD. Pretty substantial. It did gross over 800 million at the box office.
Do you know what the original trilogy had off the top of your head?
No, not as much.
No, obviously not as much.
They made their money in toys.
Yeah.
And nostalgia. No. I'd be curious to see how much money they make off of this next run off of like the North American kind of tour that's going on right now. Be very interesting to see. It was the second highest grossing film of 2005. The first one going to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire with not very much more, like less than 100 million more. So like they were pretty neck and neck there. Yeah. And so that's kind of where we're at in 2005. See our cast: Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, Ian McDermott. obviously Anakin, Obi-Wan,
Yep.
Emperor Palpatine,
Yep.
or Chancellor Palpatine, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
I really like Ian McDiarmid, like his performance as Sidious.
Yeah, he's good.
I'd say it's pretty. Like I'd say like it's up there. Like it's good. Like it's really good.
He does do that pretty well. Anakin's acting is.
Although there is some issues, I think Hayden Christensen.
Hold on, my mother's calling me. Hello, mother.
I think there's some weird moments with Chancellor Palpatine where I'm like, oh, why does it sound like he's almost taking pleasure in certain things? He's like, do it, and I'm like, okay. And then Hayden Christensen, I think, was given a raw deal with dialogue. I think he's a
That's
pretty
one
solid
thing.
actor.
There's
Reading, some dialogue in this movie. That's
reading the Roger Ebert review, and there was one line that I really liked, that specifically when it comes to Anakin and Padme. To say that George Lucas cannot write a love scene is an understatement. Greeting cards have expressed more passion.
yeah, it's pretty bad. Like I feel like there's just some dialogue, and it's unfortunate that George Lucas isn't like as good on that.
Especially those opening scenes with Ewan McGregor, those are just not good. I felt like the first few scenes, especially like when they're going to rescue Chancellor Palpatine, that was just.
I feel like it was worse for Grievous. Where he's like leaving and he's like, oh, time to escape. And you're like what?
Yeah.
Like that would never fly.
No.
Like in a movie nowadays. It would be chastised and ridiculed.
Yeah.
And like they had some dialogue like that in like the sequels. And everyone's like, oh, we hated that. It was so bad and the acting is bad. But then that happens in the prequels and everyone's like, it's a space opera, guys. I feel like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have to admit. There's kind of a lot of hypocrisy. Like when Finn in the sequel says they fly now or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh, that was terrible." Everyone knows there was jetpack troopers and stuff like that. I was like, "Okay, whatever. It's a line. It wasn't even that bad acted. It's crappy dialogue. Whatever. It was something they could say to be a cheesy little thing because they have to make it a little lighthearted." And everyone's like, "That was bad sequel writing." But those same people on Reddit are like glazing the sequels, and they're like, "Oh my god, it was so good." It's like. But they're like, everyone's willing to completely turn a blind eye to be like, it's time to escape, and oh, you fell right into my trap. And
the dialogue is not.
It's like, okay, I get it. The dialogue can be good and bad and acted poorly in different scenarios. It's never black and white. But come on. As a Star Wars fan, you have to agree that sometimes the writing, like in dialogue, is a little cheesy.
It is,
and I'm fine to admit that because it's a space opera. In a way.
Well, it's... At the same time, I'd like to see it better.
It's a sci-fi fantasy. We have to understand that some things are going to be different, and sometimes they use stylistic things to showcase that, like, the world isn't... When they say, like, Dank Farrik in the Mandalorian, you know what I mean? It's like,
When there's some things where it's like... one of my biggest pet peeves is when you have, like, a fantasy movie or, like, high fantasy or something, and they talk with, like, modern slang. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in movies. Like, if you gotta match the dialogue to the time period. And while this is set... like a long time in the past, it's essentially a future civilization, right? It's a future time frame that is set in the past. But they talk in such a weird way, and I get what they're trying to go for, like kind of more of like a royalty, a little more proper, but it just feels kind of basic and weird.
They're supposed to be elegant and like very civilized.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird thing because they're also trying to sell how dramatic it is.
Yeah.
And so like I've never really had a huge problem with dialogue in Star Wars because I'm like, okay, like interesting choice, but like I'm okay with it. But my main point here is like, as a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm guilty of it, there's kind of a bit of hypocrisy that gets thrown in the mix because it's like a lot of the people who hate the sequels love the prequels, but a lot of the people who like the sequels who hate the prequels overlook a lot of things that are very similar in the two that they criticize the other for. And it goes both ways.
One of the big things that makes the prequels better, in my mind, is that the characters are better.
Yes,
the characters are far. I mean, like look at like Anakin's character is whether or not like however you want to talk about the dialogue or the acting or whatever, the character itself is really well constructed and the internal conflicts and the way it, and you know I mean it's really well done. The ones in the new movies, they're not.
They
they're
weren't
just
you weren't attached to them.
no.
Yeah.
You're not attached to them, and they just feel like they're not as. They just don't have the same realistic feel that the characters like. They just feel like either they're perfect, heroes, or they're evil villains, and it's just. I wish there was a little more of that. Like with this one, it feels a little more like really. It makes you with the prequels. It really makes you question: are the Jedi's the good guys at all the time? You know what I mean? Like some of the things they do, and like with Anakin, you're like he's trying to do what he feels is good, but it's taking him down the wrong path. Like there's that conflict, internal conflict, and it's a little less cut and dry, which I don't like about the new ones. And the characters just they feel more real.
How I look at it is, and you made a good point there, like with it feeling real. I look at it as like the prequels are like almost like the characters are figuring out the world still, and you're like following Anakin's journey on him learning like what it means to be a Jedi, and then his path to coming into the dark side.
Yes.
And it's interesting, and you're learning more about the world and following it.
Yep.
And you're learning about the Trade Federation and all that stuff.
Yep.
And then the sequels to me feel more like we already know the whole world. So instead of like following the characters learning the world, it's like they're going on an adventure through that exact same thing. Like it's like, how do I put this in an analogy? It's like my buddy is showing me his Minecraft world.
Yep.
And I'm seeing all the things he's built and stuff like that. And he's giving me a tour. That's what the sequels feel like in comparison to like, or he's like showing me his new house.
Yeah.
And instead the prequels are like, okay, let's explore how this was built.
Yeah.
And follow a character journey.
Yep.
And the sequels to me just feel like, we've been there. So now instead of all the characters learning, it's like they know everything already.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're gonna just
and they're perfect at it. Whereas with the prequels, we see Anakin go from little boy to man, like and we see that journey, whereas with the new ones it's like we meet Rey, and she's living on a desert island, never been off the planet, and she knows exactly how to do all this stuff, and it just feels like
I like Rey. I like Daisy Ridley. I think she did a good job, but I feel like a lot of it was just so scuffed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot of stuff that was just like creative differences that weren't ironed out. I feel like Finn could have really been the Jedi. I was kind of really hoping to see like Finn be the Jedi. That would have been cool. Like, and then like, or have them both be Jedis in some capacity. But it's just like the first movie starts off in the sequels of Rey not even like, wait, the Force is real, and Han Solo's like, yeah, it's true, all of it. And you're like, oh, like okay, like yeah. And then she's immediately like a Jedi.
Yeah,
and it's like wait, hold on a second. But you didn't even believe in the Force.
It took us 3 movies to get Anakin to be a full-on Jedi. Even then, he wasn't a Jedi Master.
Exactly. And I mean, Luke obviously. Again, here's something, and this is a criticism I have with the original trilogy. We go and see Luke. Okay, I love the original trilogy. Empire Strikes Back is insane. A New Hope is. I think they're the best.
Yeah.
But here's the little issue. Luke in the Empire Strikes Back goes and see Yoda. Decides he doesn't want to even complete his training. Goes, gets his hand chopped off, defeated by Darth Vader, but he goes, right? So he's not a Jedi. But then the next movie picks up and he is a Jedi. He's considered a Jedi Knight, and we don't see any of that. He goes back to Yoda to complete his training or whatever. But right?
Yeah.
He knows all the Jedi mind tricks. We don't see any of that. And people excuse that. And I'm willing to excuse that. Whatever, that's fine. I really liked it. And I love Luke in Return of the Jedi. He's awesome. The black robes and stuff like that. He's such a cool Jedi. But again, another thing people criticize the sequels for, they do that with Rey, and everyone's fine with it. Or no one's fine with that. But they were fine with that in the original trilogy. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, but the timeline, even like let's look at that swamp scene with Yoda, right? So he goes to the swamp, and he's like, teach me how to be a knight. And then he realizes, oh, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it was, right?
Uh-huh.
And, he tries a few things, and he kind of sucks at it.
We have the Yoda's theme song.
Yes. Yes. But then with Rey in the newer movies, it just kind of feels like she just is already perfect at it. And, like, I don't know. It's sort of like the She-Hulk
Oh, she's
treatment. She's perfect at it.
She's pretty clumsy though, and she can't use the Force at first and stuff like that. But she has raw talent, is what they try to explain it. I don't know.
Yeah, but so did Luke. But just because you have the talent doesn't mean you, like, I mean, you can be a musical genius, with raw talent. But if you don't learn how to hone that, you're never gonna be as much as you would if you did. You know what I mean?
So I was just posing you the question. In my mind, it makes sense to me that I don't like Rey's journey as much because here's the thing: we set up knowing that Luke is like a Skywalker. He's pretty powerful. Or sorry, we know this information as we go through the trilogy that he's pretty powerful, and the boy must be trained and all this jazz. And then Luke goes to the most powerful Jedi, Yoda, and Yoda's like, "Do it, do not. There is no try." And we're like, "Okay, cool." Like he's learning things. He's growing. Perfect. He's pretty powerful. He must be the chosen one, or resemble the chosen one in one way. Bring balance to the Force. And we go through and like, okay, he's the chosen one. This is great. And so we know he must be pretty important. And so we're okay with Luke kind of jumping some training because he's the chosen one, right? We don't know anything about Rey. And so what they do to try and sell you on the idea that Rey it can do the same exact thing that they passed Luke off to do is they're like, well, Rey's a Palpatine. They reveal that in the third movie, whatever. And it's like, but everyone's like, no, what?
Yeah.
You just spent the whole time convincing us that she was literally no one. And then you're like, but she's not a no one.
Yeah.
And you're like, but
there was no foreshadowing or nothing. It was just all of a sudden.
It's like, what does it even matter then? Like, like what? She's like, oh, you're Palpatine's granddaughter. Like, but okay, like, and so that's why to me it's not as convincing that she was able to do it because it's like we're convinced that she's no one, and they keep throwing us in our face. Everyone keeps calling her a nobody. Yeah, and obviously part of the hero's journey is we're like, she's trying to convince everyone that she's not a nobody, and she isn't. But like the movie wants to tell us that she's a nobody. And then the movie's also like, but she's the most powerful Jedi.
But you know what I find funny about that?
But what?
You know what? In the whatever the movie with the shit ton of destroyers was. You remember that one?
Which one?
Whichever one where they revealed the massive army of Star Destroyers.
Oh, and then like the Force lightning comes down. That's the last one.
That one, yeah.
Skywalker, yeah.
You know when she goes to defeat Palpatine or whatever, and there's like the two Emperor's guards or whatever, and she's like a whole fight sequence with them. Can I just point out that when Yoda goes to see Palpatine, he just walks in, flicks his hand, and the two of them are down?
Yeah.
It's like the most powerful, but we have to have a whole fight sequence.
Interesting thing. Ian McGregor actually wanted to play one of those guards.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't figure out if it actually was him, but he requested to play one of those guards as like a funny little thing.
Yeah.
Let me read a synopsis. That was a really good preliminary conversation. Just as like summarize, I like the original trilogy the best. I think the prequels have some the prequels have some great moments, but some of them are a little too goofy for me, and I'm not a huge super duper fan of the sequels. I love all of Star Wars. I think Star Wars is great, and I love all the movies for different reasons, but if we're comparing them, I have problems with each. Yep. So when I say something's weaker, I'm like, I don't like it as much, but I've still watched it 12 times. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
And I don't think Rey Skywalker is perfect. I like Daisy Ridley. I liked the way it was played. I just don't, again, I think some of the dialogue and the journey there was so scuffed and not planned out. It felt more like it was making it away. And there's some stuff in the original trilogy that was made up along the way.
Yeah, I just don't like her character at all. I think it's kind of silly and I don't know. Anyway,
it just feels like a worse version of Luke Skywalker in a way.
Yeah, really.
You have a desert kid that doesn't know anything, and she's a chosen one. But they don't tell us that she's a chosen one, and we're like, she's a Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll read the synopsis. Okay.
If you can figure out how to unlock your phone.
Yeah. It has been 3 years since the Clone Wars began. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker rescue Chancellor Palpatine from General Grievous, the commander of the droid armies. But Grievous escapes. Suspicions are raised within the Jedi Council concerning Chancellor Palpatine, with whom Anakin has formed a bond. Asked to spy on the Chancellor and full of bitterness towards the Jedi Council, Anakin embraces the dark side.
Yes. And also to what he feels is save his wife. It's a reason.
Yes. So we go through here. We have a really awesome CGI sequence where like Anakin and Obi-Wan are in their Jedi starfighters, and they're shooting down like droids, tri-fighters, and stuff like that. And we see like the Venators. Is this the first time we see a live-action Venator? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure. But anyways, they basically hop on like the Invisible Hand is what it's called. It's General Grievous's ship. They don't call it the Invisible Hand in this, but
I don't like this sequence. This opening sequence is
what?
terrible.
What?
When they get on
I
his
get goosebumps every time.
when they get on his ship, it's just
That's a little.
ridiculous.
It's a little goofy and
it's
ridiculous.
really goofy.
It's suspension of disbelief, though. That's what Star Wars is. It's like
no, but like once they
this
get on
is
the
why I
ship,
say
no,
Star Wars
hold on.
fans are hypocrites.
Where are the guards? That's
is
my
what-
problem with it. It's like
There's battle droids.
okay, there's like 2 of them, and then their biggest challenge is getting up the elevator. Like, come on, you're gonna tell me you're thwarted by an elevator? Like, come on, it's kind of ridiculous.
Brother, there's a lot of elevator mechanics who would tell you the exact same thing. But listen, here's the thing. This is what I mean when I said Star Wars fans are hypocrites. As a Star Wars fan, I'll admit I'm a hypocrite about a lot of things. Some things just work and some things don't because it's a lot of bit about of personal enjoyment, right? Here's the thing. It's just the whole world is suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah, but you can have
So why
suspension
am I
of
willing
disbelief.
to why am I willing to suspend disbelief that Anakin can use his ship to knock off buzz droids off of Obi-Wan's ship and cut off his wing and Obi-Wan's still
I'm
fine
not
to
even
fly.
talking about that.
But I'm not willing to suspend disbelief that the elevator broke on their way up. I mean, come
That's
on.
not what I'm
That's what I
talking
mean.
about. I'm talking about the elevator being like their biggest challenge once they get in there. There should be guards all over. There should be swarms of droids trying to take them out. They shouldn't just be able to waltz on into the main command post of General Grievous's ship.
Yes, they absolutely should.
No.
You want to know why? Because Chancellor Palpatine is controlling the strings. He needs the Jedi to be able to get to him so that he can convince them that he needs rescuing before they actually are like kidnapped by Grievous and taken away. You know what I mean? Because he's pulling the strings, right? If they were immediately killed, well then like the plan's not really working because then how else is Chancellor Palpatine going to escape? He needs to be able to escape and make it realistic. While also, that's why he wants to leave Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan gets knocked out. Because he's like, okay, perfect. That's one problem down. Now I just have Anakin. Anakin can free me and we can escape together. And now Obi-Wan doesn't have to get in the way. That's what I mean. Like that's why he's pulling the strings and not everyone knows about the plan. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Not everyone knows that Chancellor Palpatine's the bad guy on both sides.
That's the other thing in that scene where he gets knocked down by like that beam or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is awful.
I know that's probably my
Utterly
least
awful.
I cringe when I see that shot. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just I don't know why. It's just like he knocks the platform over and then Obi-Wan's corpse slides. And you're like,
well, and like
what?
the interaction between them is just wrong. Like it's just. Oh. And come on, you guys can do better than that. If you did what you did in the 80s with those models, you can do better than that in like 2002. Come on.
Yeah, that one was pretty rough.
Like
That one's definitely pretty rough. I cringe when I see that shot.
yeah.
Especially since you have such a beautifully
Yeah.
crafted CGI sequence, in my opinion, where they're flying through
The CGI is
explosions
pretty
to crazy awesome scores, and then all of a sudden this shot on ground in real life,
Yeah.
it's the worst CGI shot I've seen in the whole
Yes.
movie, and it's just like so bad. How did you perfect all the ship sequences? And then the VFX team was like, yeah, the audiences are gonna love this one, and it's just like, it's just corpses crushed on the
so
ground.
bad.
It's
I
like,
mean,
oh man.
and that fight sequence too. That opening fight sequence with what's his face? Dooku. Yeah, Dooku. That is terribly choreographed. There are so many opportunities there where they had to end that fight like within 30 seconds. Like there was one in particular where like they, he had a little exchange with Anakin and then he turned to Kenobi and then Anakin's just standing there. Like literally just standing there with the guy's back to him. Yeah. There's because the fight choreography overall was quite good. It's classic Star Wars.
There's some great
really
fight
flashy
scenes,
and
yeah.
right. But like that one, I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah, the Dooku fights were pretty rough. Unfortunately, like I felt like the same way in the Attack of the Clones. Just like they make Obi-Wan so weak compared to Anakin, and I get it. They want to show Anakin's like better in the Chosen One, but Obi-Wan just consistently gets his ass handed to him in all these movies, kidnapped and destroyed and defeated, and you're just like, how am I led to believe that this is the guy that's going to take down Anakin at the end of the movie? Like, it's just too bad, because I feel like in all the secondary media, like the Kenobi TV show, sorry, I'm touching my mic a lot.
Careful of that bottle, too.
We didn't have water in the studio, so I'm drinking wine.
No, you're not. You're drinking an adult beverage.
An adult beverage. I
don't think we're allowed to do that on.
Yeah, we are. It's space wine, 0%. It was directed by George Lucas. I don't know if I said that. Obviously, we know George Lucas directed Star Wars. I don't know. I feel kind of bad for saying Star Wars fans are hypocrites, but you get what I mean.
No, they are.
It's just like, I feel like I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was a little kid. It's my favorite media. I buy all the Star Wars Lego. My whole room is Star Wars.
I know.
My room. I have a lightsaber.
Your full-size Star Destroyer is... I am very jealous.
Yeah, every December I watch every single Star Wars movie. Yeah. Like 2 years in a row now I've done that, and I've done that like my whole life.
Yeah.
Every time I went to my grandma's house. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. And that's why I'm kind of comfortable saying, in a way, and I don't care if it really offends people, I think a lot of Star Wars fans are hypocrites, because I know, I admit, if I look into the things I say, a lot of it means I'm a hypocrite. Because I say like, I can pass off certain things, and some of it just comes down to better writing and other stuff, but a lot of it just means like, hey, listen, everyone has different opinions, and we have to understand that there's never been a time where every Star Wars fan has been happy. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, that was too violent, or that was not violent enough, or that I didn't like the dialogue there. Right?
Yeah.
I'm
Speaking
okay
of violence,
just appreciating... Sorry, go on.
Speaking of violence, you got to check out that Corridor Crew video. I just showed you this before the episode. They make Star Wars, there's a bunch of special effects artists, and they make Star Wars R-rated. I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I love Star Wars so much, and I think it's great. And I know just like you can't make everyone happy. So a lot of the times when I don't like something with Star Wars, I try to appreciate the world that I know and love, like with the stuff I do like, because it's like I'd rather do that than just be negative all the time and be like, oh, I hate the sequels and all this stuff. And there was a lot of crap in the sequels, but let's think of some good things just off the top of our head, just as a thank you to the Star Wars. Like that shot in the Last Jedi where they look like the shuttle's coming down, but it's really just an iron pressing the close. That's hilarious. That's probably one of the funniest scenes in all of Star Wars. Loved that in the theater. Hilarious. Right? That's a great thing that happened in the sequels. Hilarious comedy that worked so well. And then the next scene sucks ass. But like that was just amazing, right? It's like there's things you can appreciate and love. Overall, they may suck, but like I like to focus on some of the stuff that like, hey, that was funny. That was good.
I would have rather just not had those movies, though.
I mean, that's a fair point too. But yeah, that's a fair point. I just, to me, the only thing was Luke Skywalker. Like that was not the only thing, but the biggest thing was Luke Skywalker.
For me, it was Rey.
I just
Rey was just her character just was ridiculous in my opinion, and when your main character is not a great character, it's hard to get behind a movie. So
yeah, we should also say that Star Wars is coming out with the Mandalorian Grogu show, movie.
Yes,
next May, and in May 2027, they just announced that Ryan Gosling is going to be starring in a new Star Wars movie called Jedi Starfighter, Star Wars Starfighter.
Is it like a prequel or sequel or what is it?
It's set after, I think it's set a few years after the sequels. But it's like, I think it's a standalone thing. I don't think it's Ryan Gosling starting as like
the standalone. Like when they did Rogue One. Awesome. I really liked Rogue One.
Movie.
Rogue One was awesome. And a lot of people hated it. You know, a lot of people hated that they all died in the end. I'm like, no, I liked that.
This is what I mean, right?
Like it, and I mean, I don't want to see them die, but it was such a compelling movie. Like that ending scene where they're on that planet and you realize, oh shit, they're all gonna die. Like it's compelling.
It's a very good standalone movie, and people are complaining like, oh, Jyn Erso didn't know Director Krennic at the end, and so the final scene where Director Krennic's like trying to figure out who she is, and like she doesn't know her. People are like, oh, that sucks. Like you're supposed to have the bad guy know each other and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe, but like also it helps so much with scale. You know what I mean? Like it's like, how did that ruin the movie for you? Because then they have this scene where they realize like she's Gale Erso's daughter and stuff like that, and like that's cool. It doesn't mean the characters weren't fleshed out. They're all gonna die first of all anyway, and second of all, it's like a cool big reveal for Krennic where he like realizes he's beat.
Yeah.
Anyways, Andor season 2 just came out. I haven't started watching it. Andor season 1 was amazing. There's this incredible scene with Andy Serkis that I won't spoil, but it was just a phenomenal show. Andor season 1, loved it.
I haven't watched most of the Star Wars shows. I watched a couple episodes of Mandalorian, and I haven't watched anything more than that.
Can I spoil it?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so spoilers for Andor season 1. They get sent to this prison, like Andor. He gets sent to this prison, and basically he's sent there to do like work and labor and stuff like that. And all these prisons are across the galaxy and stuff like that, and they're not allowed to talk to people on other floors and stuff like that because they're sectioned off in mega prisons.
Yeah.
They find out they have this ability to like floor shock and kill people because like whatever, it's a high security prison. They kill an entire floor, like with the Empire, of 150 people, 300 people, like somewhere in there. All of them instantly killed, and everyone's freaking out and sucks. And you know why they killed them? Because someone found out in the floor that when people's sentences were over at this prison, instead of releasing them, they were secretly transferring them to other prisons across the galaxy. So crazy, right? So anyways, the whole prison goes into mayhem. An escape happens, right? And they're like, this prison's surrounded by water. Bunch of stuff happens. They escape. And the guy who leads the escape, like, and helps Andor break free and stuff like that, is played by Andy Serkis, like Gollum and shit like that. He realizes he can't swim. Like, they don't know the prison's surrounded by water, so he can't escape the prison. He's the one that led the whole escape, and so he ends up dying. Because, or like, we don't know exactly what happened to him, but like, yeah, he can't leave the prison that he helped everyone escape because he can't swim. Isn't that just like a crazy? Yeah, like that was like, I get goosebumps every time I watch that scene. I've watched it like 3 times just because like everyone's escaped, everyone's so happy, and like Andor looks over and he's like, "What's wrong, Kino?" And he's like, "I can't swim." dude, it's like heartbreaking, but like anyways, great show. Loved it. Very cool. Let's get into this movie.
Yeah, we've kind of jumped around a fair bit here.
Moral of the story, we're going to do more Star Wars down the line. I think we're probably going to do A New Hope for Star Wars Day, and then we'll have the Empire Strikes Back soon.
Yeah, Coliseum's putting on Empire Strikes Back, so definitely check them out, coliseumpresents.ca. They got a whole bunch of fun ones coming up. Bill and Ted is next. Monty Python is in there. Indiana Jones. They've got Mother's Day and Father's Day movies. You've got Mamma Mia for Mother's Day and Field of Dreams
Father's Day, yeah.
For Father's Day. Yeah, so lots of good stuff coming there. We'll be at most of those, so check them out.
Okay, so we start off this movie. We're in the Invisible Hand. We're gonna go find basically Anakin, Obi-Wan. They find the Chancellor. They get into a bit of a fight with Dooku. Anakin ends up killing Dooku, beheading him because Chancellor Palpatine told him to, which isn't the Jedi way.
Yeah.
But basically, Chancellor Palpatine's like, yeah, he's too powerful to be kept alive. Basically,
that double lightsaber kill is iconic.
Cuts his head off, and Anakin's like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that because that's not like the Jedi. And then Chancellor Palpatine's like, whatever. He was a bad guy. And Anakin's like, okay. And so they leave. Obi-Wan kind of like gets like destroyed, but they carry him out of there. Basically, they get kidnapped on their way out by General Grievous. And General Grievous is like, haha, well, now you've fallen into my trap and yada, yada, yada. They break free, kill a bunch of his guards, and General Grievous escapes. They crash his ship into Coruscant, and basically everyone's like, well, Chancellor Palpatine's back, even though we like destroyed millions of dollars in property damage.
Guess who's back back again.
They literally like destroyed
I thought the same thing.
All the things.
I was like, hold on, like you're happy that they've just crash landed and destroyed, millions of dollars or whatever space credits worth of.
Yeah, exactly. This mega runway.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so Chancellor Palpatine is back. They're going through all the things. They need to figure out how to end the war because the Clone Wars have been going on for a couple years now. Basically, the Jedi Council needs Anakin and Obi-Wan to do some certain things. So they get Anakin onto the Council, but they don't grant him the rank of Master because they don't think he's like necessarily trustworthy enough or earned it yet. And instead of being happy that Anakin's on the Council, he's like, well, it's embarrassing. They didn't give me the rank of Master. And so Obi-Wan's like, Anakin, it's very good that you're on the Council so young. He's like, it's embarrassing, Master. so
whiny bitch.
Yeah. He's kind of being a little bit of whiny. And
And then we find out Padme's pregnant too on that way. Oh, when they come back.
Padme is pregnant with a baby.
Mm-hmm.
With a baby. Keep that in mind. Mitosis. No. That's how Luke and Leia were created. It's like no, so basically the council needs the boys to do a couple things. First of all, they need to figure out where Grievous went so they can go and kill him, and they need someone to spy on Palpatine because even with Dooku dead, he's not relinquishing his emergency powers. He's still in control of like the Senate making all the decisions. So they're kind of like, hold on a second. Why hasn't he done this yet? So they need to see if when they kill Grievous, if he's going to relinquish control or not. Because if not, then they have like a serious problem on their hands. So interesting, right? So eventually they find Grievous. They send Obi-Wan to kill him. Basically, Dooku and Anakin are kind of buddy-buddy. And Palpatine and Anakin. Yeah. He's like, hey, if they don't send you to kill Grievous, the Jedi must be evil because there's got to be a plot to kill me because you're clearly the best choice. And they send Obi-Wan instead, and Anakin's like, this is weird. Anakin and Obi-Wan have a nice send-off and stuff like that. They talk and do whatever. Basically, Anakin and Palpatine get a little closer with each other. Anakin finds out that he thinks he's having these visions that Padme's going to die in childbirth. And so he's trying to avoid
And
that.
it's the same ones that he had when his mother died.
Right.
And so he's like, wait, hold on. This might actually mean something.
So he goes to Yoda because he's fearful, and Yoda's like, well, basically, like, the fear of, you have to get rid of that fear of loss because it might make you act out in a way, and you might actually cause these issues by doing this, and you need to basically, like, know that, like, when people pass on, like, it's actually a joy that they're with the Force and turn into the Force, and not, like, be afraid of losing them because that's like a fear to jealousy and anger and hatred because that's like what the dark side is.
Yeah.
And Anakin's like, all right, cool. But then he immediately goes to Padme. He's like, I want more.
Yeah. I want more power.
So Palpatine's sensing this kind of weakness in
power.
Him. We know Palpatine's like Emperor Palpatine. He's evil, whatever. Yeah. So he's trying to coerce Anakin into the dark side. He basically tells him, hey, like, the pathway to the Force is a pillar of ability, some to consider to be unnatural, or whatever he says, and basically like tells him about like Darth Plagueis the Wise and how he could like help
keep people from dying, but not himself. How ironic! And Anakin's like, well, I want to learn this power, and so Palpatine reveals himself to be the Sith Lord, and Anakin's like, whoa. Hold on a second, like this ain't cool. I'm gonna tell Mace Windu on you, but Chancellor Palpatine's like, hey, but just know, like, you won't be able to stop Padme from death if you do this. So Anakin fights with himself for a bit, and he goes, this is all over the course of, like, the whole movie. Yeah. I'm just going over it all at once, because I can't keep going cut to, because that's ridiculous. So all that's happening, and, yeah, it's very interesting, because Anakin has this little dilemma where he's like, okay, do I turn him in or do I like whatever, try and learn the dark side? And he eventually decides he's going to turn him in, but he's very much like already in the dark side a little bit because he wants to keep Palpatine alive if they kidnap him, because there might be a way that he can still learn all these things from Palpatine. Yeah. And everyone wins, right? But that kind of greed is what leads people down the path of darkness. Yes.
Spoiler alert. The Jedi Council spread out. Ki-Adi-Mundi is out. He's gone. Yaddle's away. Yoda goes to Kashyyyk to help the Wookiees. And we see Chewbacca and Chief Tarful.
I love the Wookiees. They're probably some of my favorite characters in Star Wars.
Yeah. Wookiees are pretty cool. We see Kashyyyk. Yeah. And probably the most iconic Battlefront map. And the council spread out and whatever, we know. And Mace Windu stays to kind of oversee things and keep an eye on the Palpatine. Anakin obviously feels bad about spying, so he actually feels like the Jedi Council must be up to something, because Chancellor Palpatine isn't necessarily a bad guy, right? Because it doesn't seem like it. He seems like he really wants... Basically, Anakin's being manipulated by the dark side.
And he feels like he should be loyal to the Republic, because he feels that like Palpatine wants what's best for the Empire, and he's loyal to the Empire.
Yeah, he wants Padme and the Republic to be like alive and stuff like that. Because the Jedi are supposed to keep like democracy and stuff like that. They're not necessarily for the Republic.
Yeah.
They're like for peace and stuff like that. And they just so happen to be on the Republic side because the war didn't start with the Republic. It started with the Separatists, basically. Anyways, Obi-Wan goes, he fights Grievous, kills Grievous, bunch of cool sequences, basically finding out that he's on this one planet. What's the planet called? I forget. I was going to say Jakar, but that's the planet in...
I don't remember the planet name.
This is going to eat me up. Utapau. Utapau. That's the planet.
I don't know how you keep them all straight.
And he gets to Utapau and basically like tell him that like, yeah, Grievous is there and the army's there. They're about to move all the Separatist leaders to Mustafar, which is like a lava planet designed to be George Lucas's version of hell. Is basically how he illustrated that one. And so Obi-Wan fights Grievous, kills him. We have the iconic "Hello there" scene, and they fight. They duel. Pretty cool. Then now Palpatine urges everyone to execute Order 66 while this is going on.
Execute Order 66.
Which turns all the clones on the Republic side basically evil.
I wish it was Execute Order 666. That would have been a lot better.
Why?
The evil, the number of the beast.
Oh, I see. It's very interesting. Yeah.
666. The number of the beast.
That's actually
Hell
very
and
interesting.
fire were born to be released.
Um,
Iron Maiden, great song.
we gotta overlay you playing Guitar Hero, like that was fun. So basically, all the clones start killing the Jedi because, and the Wookiees, a lot of the Wookiees too, which is kind of interesting because you'd think the Wookiees would be able to also kind of communicate. Here's the thing. They're killing the Jedi and Wookiees and all that stuff. The Wookiees would be able to tell people like, hey, hold on a second. This isn't necessarily right. Because if it's just the Jedi, people can convince easily that the Jedi turned and stuff like that. But then if people are like, oh yes, it was the Jedi and the Wookiees. Well, hold on a second. Both of them turned?
Yeah.
The Wookiees had nothing to do with this. The Jedi just came and helped them with the war. You tell me the Wookiees and the Jedi and that village on Tatooine all rebelled? Hold on just a second. You know what I mean? So that was kind of like a bit weird. Basically, but they know like the Wookiees would turn on them anyways. But they start killing the Jedi because the Jedi turned on them and treason. So all the clones are convinced like, okay, because they have inhibitor chips basically. Star Wars lore, we won't explain it. They turn, they kill the Jedi. There's a mass murder of all the Jedi across the galaxy who are fighting the Clone Wars. Anakin is sent to the Jedi Temple to kill younglings because now he's Darth Vader, basically.
Well, and he's also so powerful that he can't take on any of the other Jedis. He has to deal with the kids. The kids.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Yeah. So he goes and kills a bunch of Jedi younglings at the temple. And
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Yeah. So he kills the kids. Obi-Wan's troops turn against him. Obi-Wan escapes barely. He meets up with Bail Organa and Yoda, who escaped Kashyyyk, and they're like, okay, what do we do next? And they're like, okay, we have to go to the temple to figure out what happened. And basically, there's like a projection from the clone army telling everyone to go to the temple to regroup because of the war, which is basically a trap to kill any Jedi that go there. So they decide, okay, we're going to go there.
If it is a trap, then we must spring it. Spring it we must.
and basically change the thing to record the message that says, like, hey, don't come. This is not good. And so basically they do that. They go, they kill a bunch of clones. They find out Anakin has turned to the dark side. Obi-Wan tries to tell Padme of this, but she's not convinced because...
My Annie wouldn't do that.
Exactly. So she goes to Mustafar to find Anakin, who has gone there to go kill all the Separatists to end the war once and for all. Again, Palpatine's controlling all the strings here. And Obi-Wan sneaks on her ship. They go to Mustafar. Anakin kills all the Separatist Trade Federation guys. And basically, they shut down all the droids. So now it looks like the Republic has finally won the war. But it just means Chancellor Palpatine has won, and he decides that, like, hey, it's now going to be an empire instead of
there's a quote there in that scene from Padme when he declares it's going to be an
this
empire.
Is how democracy.
So this
dies
is how
with
liberty
thunderous
dies with thunderous
yeah.
applause. That to me just applies so much in our modern day, and we're not going to go into that because it's politics, but
Very interesting.
you know what I mean.
Point, yeah.
To me, like that's a line that it's like that applies like
a lot of places, yeah,
a lot of places in the world and a lot of time, and
yeah,
just a really good line right there.
Yeah, it's also how my toilet bowl turns around after talking about thunderous applause is how it turns into. there we go.
Okay. Good then. Yeah, good then.
I had to bring that back down to earth, and they can't think we're too smart.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Let's see. I'm just trying to see. I read somewhere that every single clone in this movie is CGI and that there was no practical clone.
I thought so. I honestly thought so. Like there was a couple times where the way they moved, I'm like, it's CGI.
Yeah, but we're gonna go into the big climax. I'd say everyone's favorite part. My personal favorite part of this movie, the Anakin Obi-Wan duel.
It's too long.
What?
Way too long.
Shut up.
Yeah, that was one of my problems as I'm watching this. We're like at minute,
we're not friends anymore.
We're at like minute 10 of this fight. I'm like, okay, get on with it, guys.
What?
It's ridiculous.
It's incredible.
It's way too long.
We're watching 3 years of mentorship, friendship, and brotherhood all come together in one final epic battle. And you're like, I want it over in 30 seconds. Just like
I don't want it over
life.
in 30 seconds, but I also don't want it to be 15 minutes long. They just duel for way too long with nothing. There's like, it's just a straight up duel. If you're gonna make it that long, at least make something more interesting out of it.
Whoa.
You're
pulling my leg right now.
No, I'm serious.
You wanted it to be more interesting than fighting on pillars, sinking into lava, and jumping on mining droids and doing backflips and I have the high ground. I hate you.
Yeah, but
you want it to be more special than that?
Yeah, because there's like a good 5 minutes in there where they're just straight up dueling.
So
it's the most boring thing ever.
I'm so sorry to all of you fans of Star Wars. I don't see eye to eye with him on this. I'm on your side. This is insane.
No,
please,
it's
in
ridiculous.
The comments, make fun of him, belittle him, do whatever you have to do because that is insane. That is an insane garbage take. This is the climax of 3 movies worth of character building and lore into why Anakin is turning into Darth Vader.
Then make it feel like that.
What do you mean? He's like, Obi-Wan's like, you were said to destroy the Sith, not join them. And he's like, if you're not with me, you're my enemy.
Yeah, but okay, there's like a few of those lines. Yes, but then you intersperse it with 3-minute duels that make no sense.
They make perfect sense. And I was about to lead to our next fact. They spent 2 months of training for this duel, like choreography and training.
Good. They could have cut that down to 2 weeks if they had made the duel, half the length.
It's incredible.
It's boring for the first half of it.
Boring to you? Why? The score is so good.
It's boring.
What?
It's boring.
What?
It's too long. Either make it more interesting or shorten it.
That's insane.
You're insane.
That's ridiculous. What? Like it less boring? It's incredible.
No,
what
it's not.
do you mean?
It's just they're just dueling. There's nothing more to it. At least you got to give them something more to do.
They're trying to kill each other.
Okay, but it's no different than any of the other duels in the movie.
I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's come on. Think of your best friend.
Uh-huh.
You're like that you've been best friends with for basically the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have to kill them because they basically hate you and are trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
That and you're like, yeah, 30 seconds should make it interesting enough.
No, not 30 seconds.
You're ridiculous.
It's too long.
Wow. That's insane. That is insane garbage take.
Nope.
That's ridiculous.
Nope.
That's just insane.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
This is like the peak climax of the whole movie. You just watched 2 hours that's led into this point. Like, yeah, 30 seconds or so should be enough.
Mm-hmm. No, okay, not 30 seconds, but not 15 minutes or 10 minutes or
It's
however
not
long this is.
15 minutes. It's like 4.
It's way more. It was at least 10 minutes. Okay, let me look this up.
Sure, yeah, whatever.
Because that's ridiculous.
It shouldn't matter how long it is. It is.
It does though, because after it's been going on too long, it's.
I don't know. Personally, I didn't think it went on too long. To me, it didn't matter if it was 4 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, because I was invested and entertained. And I don't think it should have been shorter, because this is exactly... It would have been a disservice to the fans to cut it short. A moment of basic betrayal that's happening.
Well, here's another
between two
person on
brothers.
Reddit who thinks it's way too long of a fight. So obviously I'm not alone.
Okay, well... If fucking Joe in his basement decided with his Cheeto dust hands that it was too long, then I must agree. Like, it's perfect.
I'm just saying, it's not just me, obviously.
Yeah. But there's a large community of people with lower intelligence who think things online. And I feel like just because they like to talk online doesn't mean they're right.
I can't find an actual time.
Okay. Well, we'll let that be. It doesn't matter how long it is. Regardless, because it's a high.
Okay, 8 to 11 minutes long is what this person says. So that's way too long.
It's a high quality fight that summarizes years and years of friendship and betrayal, all summed into one fight scene that took 2 months to plan. And I think that's incredible. That's high quality work, and that's kind of the stuff that didn't go into the sequels as much. That's why this stuff is way better, because it feels like, sure, it's trying to make money and do all that stuff, but like, it also feels like it cares about its characters enough to put a high quality fight scene at the end of this brilliant kind of conclusion to the saga, rather than like the sequel fight scenes where some of them just feel like the choreography doesn't make sense or work, or it feels sloppy. I mean, I like, whether it feels sloppy or not, I like flashy lightsabers. I'm like a caveman brain. We're like, oh, sort of light, cool. So like, I never really had a huge problem, but a lot of the sequel fight scenes kind of do feel rushed or slow, or some of them feel like they're not put enough care into. But
this one is just too long.
These ones, it just feels like so well crafted. I just don't know how you can say it's too long when it's like
it's just too long. There's not enough substance for it to
would
justify being that long.
It would be a disservice to cut it shorter.
No, it wouldn't.
It would.
No, it wouldn't.
These characters deserve to have their final moments on screen.
Yes, but the thing is, when you have at like 5 minutes of them just dueling with nothing more happening, when it's just a straight up duel, they're not saying anything, and then you have another 5 minutes where there's a little more dialogue and there's a little more tension there. It just makes those other ones look plain and boring.
I think
I'm not saying
from an outsider perspective, it can look boring, but when you really dig into the meat and potatoes,
no.
Think about it. You're like I said, this is a conclusion to 3
yeah,
movies.
it is, and it didn't feel like that to me.
How could it not feel like that to you? It's literally factually the conclusion.
It is, but it doesn't.
It's factually the conclusion.
Yeah, but it just feels like anticlimactic. It just.
How? It's a fight scene.
Yeah, it's just a straight up fight scene. That's my point. There's nothing special about it for like
How
half
can
of
it feel
it.
anticlimactic if you want to shorten it? How does that correlate?
Either shorten it so that it's more the climactic parts are more condensed, or add more climactic dialogue and stuff with it.
I mean, I don't know what to say to that part. Like, it's just like, I feel like they did just exactly what they needed to do.
And that's good. That's good that you feel that way. I disagree.
I can't believe you'd want to shorten probably one of the most iconic fighting duels in the history of Star Wars.
Hey, it's a hot take, but I'm going to stand by it.
Yeah, well, that one might be too hot to stand on. You might burn your feet a little.
Nope.
You're literally on fire right now. like, yikes. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's, wow. Well, we're not going to ever agree on this, I don't think, so might as well move on.
Yeah.
That's insane. I feel like walking out right now.
Be my guest. I'll just rag on the movie for the rest of the episode.
Okay. How many shots do you think are like in an average movie?
Like an average 2-hour movie?
Yeah.
$312.
Okay. 312. That's super low. I would say probably about 5,000. Like, 312
Probably.
is really low.
I
Think
don't
of
know.
like a basic scene, like the amount of like
That's true.
shots. Yeah,
That's very true.
I would say probably a couple thousand, especially an action movie like this.
True.
Anyways, there's 2.2 thousand VFX shots in this film.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The whole movie. I mean, they shot like 90% of this on a blue screen, so doesn't really surprise me.
that's a lot of VFX shots.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know the exact number of shots. I'm probably in the 3,000 to 5,000 mark, I'd say, at least. Like, especially some of the fighting scenes. Anyways, A New Hope had 350. So just for reference, this had.
Well, that's one thing about this, though. I mean, like, this movie has a bigger sense of scale than that original trilogy, I feel like. Like, I mean, even just, like, the sets and the design of, like, the cityscapes, like, those are I liked those cityscapes. They were well done, and I thought it gave us a good sense of, like...
There's more infrastructure to show that, like CGI kind of, like, Coruscant.
Well, and it's also, it feels like the world hasn't, like, fully devolved into a full-on rebellion yet, you know, compared to the original trilogy. And so the original trilogy is a lot more like, you know, the rebel outposts on random planets and a little more rugged and everything. But this one, it's still like that high-class society on the main planets and stuff. And
the scale of Star Wars doesn't feel huge until Return of the Jedi, until that last scene, really, where the Ewoks are partying, then it cuts to Coruscant and then Naboo. Yeah. Obviously, that was digitally done after, even after the movie came out. But that's when it feels like the most large scale.
Yeah. I don't know. That's one thing about this, though. They shoot so much of it on a blue screen or green screen or whatever, like on virtual sets, that it feels like sometimes they don't interact with the environment enough. You know what I mean? Like even in the way they're acting.
Yeah. I agree with some of that, but then again, when you look at Attack of the Clones, and Anakin's picking at the grass. He's like, I hate sand. And you're also like, maybe it's okay that they didn't interact with the world as much.
That's true. Yeah.
No, it's like I like to have actors in practical places. Like I think that I like it. I think it's better for an actor. Like too, I'm not an actor, but like I just feel like it makes sense that if you're actually in a place doing the thing, it's a lot easier to get into character.
It's got to be easier to act in an environment.
Well, think of Ian McKellen's breakdown. During The Hobbit.
That's a perfect example.
Obviously, it's a ton of pressure and stress to be acting with nothing. Mm-hmm. It's tough on the Marvel people. It's tough on whatever. It sucks. I mean, sure, they get paid enough, so whatever. But like, it's a tough thing, and so that's why I feel like it must be better.
Especially for someone like Ian McKellen, who's a traditional stage actor,
classic trained actor, used to training with people and doing the thing, and then he's forced to stand in a room alone for days on end.
Yeah,
that's insane. While people just stare at him. Okay, try it again, Ian, but this time tilt your face a little bit to the left. You're like, I would go insane. Like, it's ridiculous. It takes a lot of like. Not to glaze actors who do this, because whatever, like obviously, like there's other harder jobs, but like it is mentally draining to do stuff like that, and it's hard in its own right compared to traditional acting.
It's hard to just do it well, then too.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but yeah, 2.2 thousand VFX shots and 40 screen wipes.
That was one thing I noticed. I like the transitions in this movie, like with the wipes and the circle transitions,
Star Wars,
the classic transitions. I liked that vibe. Like it's not just straight up cuts all the times. I like that. It gives it a bit more of a storybook vibe.
That's what makes it feel like more like a large epic.
Yeah.
So we see a bunch of stuff of Order 66 too. Like obviously, Bail Organa does his thing. There's a Jedi that protects him, gets shot and killed. That's actually George Lucas's son.
Mm-hmm.
Fun little fact. Basically, Obi-Wan defeats Anakin, cuts off his legs. Anakin's like, I hate you, blah, blah, blah. Obi-Wan tells him, like, yeah, he loves him, but, like, this isn't cool. Obi-Wan leaves to help Padme, who's basically starting to die for no reason that they can't explain. Emperor Palpatine kind of comes, picks up Anakin to try and bring him back to life.
The origin of Darth Vader.
Yeah, and so...
Is it just me, or is Darth Vader's voice weird in this one? Like, they didn't have James Earl Jones doing it in this one, did they?
I think they did.
Because it sounded different.
They must have. They must have done it. I think the audio is just cleaner. This is the first time we're hearing Darth Vader.
No, but it
since
just it
I feel like
didn't
it must
seem as
have been.
low.
It must have been because I feel like they did some AI Vader voicing for Kenobi show, and that's how
Yeah.
they're gonna do it now. Is like AI, a mixture of AI and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty confident that it was actually James Earl Jones.
Yep, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, because I know for I don't think there was any lines in Rogue One or yeah, in Rogue One the Vader lines I believe was a mixture of James Earl Jones and a little bit of AI, and then Kenobi was AI. James Earl Jones, like
Yeah.
lines mixed in, but like AI.
Yeah.
And now they're moving like for all the games and stuff like that, like it's going to be AI
Yeah.
James Earl Jones. And that was decided prior to his death even. Obviously James Earl Jones died last year, but even prior to his death, 2-3 years before they decided that they were going to go down the AI route because they already used him so many times. They have a full replica of his voice at their disposal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, this is where it gets a little iffy, like where they're like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. It's like, oh, it's James Earl Jones though.
I
right?
mean, you know,
It's
I
like,
feel
oh.
like this is the solution to this sort of dilemma is, you know, a copyright sort of. You know, like if I am going to use a song in a YouTube video, then I have to get a copyright for it, or you know, I have to you know, pay a copyright fee or something. I feel like that's the licensing fee. I feel like that's the answer to it. If you're going to use an actor's voice,
You have to pay their estate.
you have to pay them,
Yeah.
their estate, or you have to pay them a royalty or like a licensing fee. Basically, licensing. It's like, you know, if you're gonna, you know, use someone's image on a website, you know, you're using their likeness.
They should get the exact same residual that they should have gotten otherwise.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Or something like however you want to work it. That's kind of the solution. It's the same thing with art. If you're going to use somebody's art to train an AI model, they get a royalty.
Didn't Robert Downey Jr. didn't he say that he didn't he announce that his estate would automatically sue anyone who tried using an AI version of his voice? when he's
Maybe
dead?
I don't know.
I feel like I saw something about that,
Yeah.
like that he said yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But again, it's how they're like, there's some actors I think who love and respect their characters enough, like in that version, that they're like okay with it being shown after their
Yeah.
death. And I feel like whatever with James Earl Jones, he already wasn't voicing for a number of years.
Yeah.
I feel like he was like, he knew he couldn't do it anymore, so he's like okay with
Yeah.
him doing it. But I definitely feel like there's a certain point where it's like, how much can we milk something before it's disrespectful to use that person's
Yeah.
identity?
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
I get like when they did Princess Leia in Rogue One, and I want to say Carrie Fisher was alive when they did that. Still,
There was somewhere she was dead or she died. There was at least some of the sequels she was dead.
Before The Last Jedi came
Yeah.
out, and then she was still in The Rise of Skywalker, right?
Well, and that's where they did use some sort of technology to digitally put her in.
Yes. It's tasteful when they do it as like a cameo thing, and you're like, that's like respect to the character and like an ode. But then like there's a certain point where it's like, okay, well, if Carrie Fisher's been dead for 6 years, but she's in 8 movies,
Yeah.
what's happening here? Right? That's when you're like, okay, did we go too far with it?
Yes.
Not my wheelhouse. I'm not like the moral dilemmatist, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna try and sit here and argue whether or not like it's right or wrong. I think it's very personal, and that is an argument that belongs to solely the person's estate, their person, like themselves.
Yeah.
They're like the people that take after them for after they're gone,
Yeah.
and between like studios to decide, because it's not. I'm the only one who can control what happens to me.
Yeah.
And then the people following me. Like,
Yeah,
it's like-
exactly.
yeah. Like that's basically it. Padme dies during childbirth. We realize that she has 2 kids. No
Twins.
one sensed with the Force that there was 2 very strong chosen ones in her belly. Like, don't know how that happened. That was like
Yeah.
interesting. Like, okay, well, maybe we still have a little bit more of like medically training to do. Like
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I understand being able to sense that Palpatine wasn't a Sith for so long because he was so powerful with the dark side that he was actually able to hide his Force usage.
Yeah.
Interesting idea, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how we explain that like loophole that
Yeah.
he's surrounded by the most powerful Jedi in the universe, and none of them were all too blind to be able to see.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that that's.
Speaking of Sidious, that transition when he's fighting Mace Windu, when he turns from like normal
Where he, like,
Palpatine.
just a
Yeah,
spin, yeah.
well, and also just like the face transition. I thought that was pretty clean. I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah, minus the dialogue where it sounds like he's
Yeah.
like moaning in pleasure, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, don't do it!"
Yeah, right. So,
No, whatever.
I don't. That one thing with him is sometimes some of those lines, he just feels like he's enjoying his own voice too much when he's talking.
Yeah, strike me.
Take my lightsaber, strike me down, and your path to the dark side shall be complete.
Put it in me. Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure about that, buddy. Yeah, no, like they did a good job on that. Like I said, it's just I'm willing to, like, against suspension of disbelief, to believe that the most powerful Jedi were blindsided for a bit to figure it out, because he was such a strong, powerful Sith Lord that was able to do all this stuff. Okay, cool, I get it. But, like, not one of the most powerful Jedi in the entire universe realized that there might be two chosen ones in Padme's stomach. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
Yeah.
like, really? Not one doctor was like, "Hey, by the way, you're carrying twins."
Yeah.
You mean freaking Yoda was blindsided? You're like, did not foresee this. I did. Really? Really?
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
foresee this? All right. A little bit weird. That's why my mitosis theory, like, they didn't, like, actually, like, shove another one in. They're like, yeah. Like, we did find her off the street, but she's yours now. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Really? Anyways, so that that part doesn't work for me, but whatever. Two arrive, Luke and Leia, bing bada boom, that's their origin stories. Luke gets sent off to live with Owen in Peru on Tatooine. Leia goes with Bail Organa to basically Alderaan, whatever. Bing bada boom, she's gonna go work for the Republic, whatever.
She's going to be a princess.
Yeah. And yeah, there we are.
That's Revenge of the Sith.
That's Revenge of the Sith. Padme dies in childbirth. Obi-Wan kind of goes to watch over the boy on Tatooine and kind of goes into hiding. Yoda goes into exile.
Anakin finds out, or Darth Vader by this point finds out, that Padme died, and it's like, no, that's so cheesy.
Yeah. But it is cool seeing him don the suit for the first time, and then we hear the...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That probably did not translate on the mic at all. It's just going to sound like me going... Yeah, the original cut of this movie was 4 hours long.
I mean, it was a long movie. It's like 2:20, I think. At least the Disney Plus version.
Yeah, we're almost out of time here, so let's speed run likes and dislikes.
Try and look through. I did take a couple notes.
Yeah, go hit me with them.
Talk about that. We talked about that. 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 Yeah, that's. I don't have anything else in my notes.
Yeah. I think the weakest part's corny dialogue.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is if the writing had been better, the acting would have been better, and
I should say this is far better than the other two though. Like in terms of prequel dialogue.
Yeah.
This one is like the most solid.
Yeah, but it's still not great.
There's some lines where you're like, oh, that was the best we could do.
Yeah.
Like, especially General Grievous being like, oh, time to escape or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and even I just find a lot of the interactions between Anakin and Obi-Wan are just so weird. And like overall, the way Ewan McGregor delivers his lines, I feel like the lines are just misplaced sometimes.
Whoa.
I don't know.
I get having a problem with some of the Hayden Christensen dialogue, but Ewan McGregor, that man's a national treasure.
I'm not saying it's acting. It's not his fault. I think it's the line. He did a pretty good job given what he was given to work with.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Oh, there's some Obi-Wan lines that are just so good. Like when he's like so uncivilized. And
and see that's what I mean. Like there's
awesome.
some that are on point, but then others where they obviously were trying to do it and it just didn't hit. But whatever, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Otherwise, I love the fighting. Thought it was great. I think the movie has pretty good pacing overall. It feels epic. It feels like a journey. The original cut of the the Palpatine escape scene was actually over an hour alone. Like that first portion of the movie was over an hour, and they cut that down to what, like an 8-minute sequence? That's
crazy.
insane. Like escaping the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I enjoy this one. I'm a huge fan of the original trilogy. I'm a huge fan of all the Star Wars. The original trilogy is my favorite.
Yeah. It doesn't get better than the original trilogy. The original trilogy will always be the top. Like I said, original trilogy, Rogue One, everything else. That's the way it goes for me. This is about Revenge of the Sith, and overall, it's a decent
we'll
movie.
focus on that, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Rate it. What do we think? What do we think in here?
You first.
Oh, okay.
I know you're gonna give it a lower score than I do.
What do you think I'm gonna give it? I want to hear what you.
I think you're probably gonna give it a 6.5.
Really, you think I hated it that much?
Maybe a 7.
Yeah, 7. That's what I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'll give
It's
it
a 7.
8. It's an 8 for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would for reference, I'd probably give Attack of the Clones 7, and then like a 6 to the Phantom Menace. Like if that makes sense.
Yeah. The one thing that this movie doesn't have going for it is you only see Jar Jar Binks once.
The what?
Jar Jar Binks. He's my favorite character.
I think they did that on purpose, though. I think people were sick of Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, but I love Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar is like my favorite character.
Misa Jar Jar love Qui-Gon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jar Jar's pretty good. Ahmed Best, my man. He came back for The Mandalorian, season 3, as a Jedi. But yeah. Anyways, there we are. Thank you for watching the viewing room. You guys have a great day.
Bye.